So it is hockey season, folks. We're entering the playoffs. There's a lot of Canadian teams that are advancing, there's American teams advancing. And with the tensions of this trade war and the back and forth rhetoric, it's hurting hockey. I kid you not. We've already seen the dilemma that's hurting with the tourism industry, with more and more Canadians just rejecting the idea of never going to the United States. Now it's affecting actual sports. And now sports affiliates like the NHL, like the NBA, like so many others are now pleading with politicians to end this nightmare because now it's affecting people in their ability to watch sports. So here in the Gazette in Colorado, um, Canadian hockey fans conflicted over traveling to US to see their teams in the NHL playoffs. Canada saw 5 of its 7 NHL teams advance to the playoffs this season. Of course, the one time we're actually starting to get good, ah, you know, life is funny that way. So, this guy, Jack Gervich, is that how you pronounce it? Gervich? Is a Montreal Canadian superfan and a proud Canadian who says he is upset by President Donald Trump's tariffs plan and threats to annex Canada. Still, he says he won't let the political situation influence whether he travels to U.S. cities to support his team in the playoffs. Not everyone in his family agrees. In anticipation of this call, I share with my sister my opinion. She went, absolutely not. Do not go. Do not go to the United States during this time. It's not being patriotic. It's not being a good Canadian. Gurvich told the Canadian press, I just kind of disagree with her. The latter half of the NHL season saw scattering booing during the Star Spangled Banner at games in Canada amid Trump threats of tariffs and his comments about turning its northern neighbor into a state. It has led to the resentment and anger, even clouding Wayne Gretzky's legacy. For some fans, giving his ties to Trump. So, Trump, this rhetoric is just an absolute disaster. The trade wars, the mass deportation is just an absolute disaster. And it's going to afflict a lot of the West, a lot of Western countries. It's affecting Canadian workers, it's affecting American workers, affecting European nations. It's not affecting the billionaire class that could just buy themselves out of this, but it's affecting the working class population that are now disgruntled on whether or not they attend hockey games anymore. Talk about losing patriotism in Canada. Can't even go to a hockey game to cheer for our teams because of this. Even bashing Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, who doesn't, because he's a Trump supporter. Okay, that mean at everything he does, his whole hockey legacy has to be completely shattered. Wow. 5 Canadian teams, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Winnipeg, and Edmonton, have made the NHL playoffs this year, and the Canadians open the postseason Monday against the Capitals in Washington. Gurvich says he often travels to the United States to watch hockey or baseball, and while it's just the start of the playoffs, he says he may travel south to cheer in person if available. I love the experience of going to Washington and chatting with the fans there and just building that bond and feeding off it, have it and having pleasant banter. It's fun. That's what it's all about, connecting with people and enjoying the sport. Thank God we have some reasonable people. Yes. I can't believe that hockey and baseball and basketball and sporting events that are supposed to be the ultimate distraction away from politics has become so politicized that now you can't even attend a hockey game of a Canadian team because it's not patriotic. You're going to America. Ugh. Wow. Neil Kitz, another Canadian's devotee, has already been in the U.S. this year to see games. Has had second thoughts about American travel after his family recent cruise that departed New Jersey last month. We just didn't feel right as Canadians. We felt like we were betraying our country, Pete Bush said, noting that going to Washington would feel even worse since it is the center of U.S. government. We have a cruise booked in August and it's going to Alaska, and we haven't really decided whether we're going to do that or not. British Columbia Premier David Eby reacting to a California campaign to re-engage Canadian tourists, said last week that Canadians need to keep the pressure up on the U.S. by buying local and avoiding travel there. In Alberta, Edmonton Oilers fans, Jason Bo, says he's a patriot Canadian, but doesn't think that he would stop him from going to the U.S. game if his team advances. Rebo's a season ticket holder went stateside to watch three of the Oilers Stanley Cup matchups against the Florida Panthers last year, rejects the argument that he should avoid the country in order to exert economic pressure. See, that is what we should be doing. That is what we should be thinking. That all this rhetoric, all these tariffs, everything that's happening right now is just absolute disregard to the majority of the consensus within our populations that Americans don't want to take over Canada. Canadians don't want to, piss off America. That we've been duped into the psyop created by our federal establishments, by the Trump campaign, by Mark Carney, by the liberal establishment, by the Republican establishment to manipulate people in this structure. That Canada and the United States have had this outstanding relationship for years and eons. And all of a sudden, it has just gone a complete turmoil. It's just become a complete catastrophe in just a matter of months because of this rhetoric back and forth. Instead of going to the table, talking this over, and finding some sort of consolidative measure to end this nightmare, we're only making this worse. We're only making this worse. And I put the blame squarely on both Canada and the United States. Because we didn't have to do this tariff war. We didn't have to do this trade war. We could have sat together as nations and come together to solve solutions. But no, they're doing this trade war for the benefit of them. Because now they have an excuse to look tough in front of America. And Carney can to manipulate people and dangle care in front of people's noses to think that he's going to be the savior. Even though a lot of the dilemmas in Canada are caused by him and his party, are caused by the liberal establishment that now want to manipulate you and garner the fact that they're going to change things. So, kudos on the specific people that highlight the fact that this is a game. That the NHL, you're there to watch sports. And the fact that people still politicize that because they're whatever's on TV, they have to regurgitate every time to random citizens that they're never going to see again. Instead of just being human beings and interacting in a civil way, resort to this. And we've seen a lot of Canadians booing the American national anthem. It's gone so bad that Americans are now banding together to boo, or Americans are booing the Canadian national anthem. Again, this goes to show you how people just are sucked in to this mind control. That we've had a long-standing relationship between Canada and the United States, and it's just gone in an instant. Why? Because the federal government's told us to. They told us that the relationship between the United States and Canada is over. They want it to be over. They want to butt heads. They want us distracted and divided so that they can conquer over us. And that is what's happening. So here is just a clippy here. This is from a Nashville Predators game against the Ottawa Senators. And they sing the Canadian national anthem. And Americans, because whatever case their media is reporting, doing the exact same thing that Canadian people are doing by being distracted and just booing at a command because a woman sang our national anthem. Again, this is a long-standing partnership that we had for eons. It's a matter of instance gone.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Oh,
You can hear people booing in the back over the national anthem. Um, I mean, there is so much devastation, and what they're doing here is diabolical. This is a psyop. This is a mind trick to play onto people. And it's sadly definitely working onto people. See a lot of Mark Carney supporters out there doing the elbows up, convincing themselves that anything outside of this bubble is definitely directed at Trump, and anything that people say otherwise is Trumpian or conservative or right wing or populism. That's the new dirty word. Populism is the new communism. It's the now Red Scare word. They want you to they want you to be afraid of. You know, being popular among other people so that you can bring a common consensus crown to people and do the benefit of the greater society, which is what populism is. And Americans didn't ask for Trump to do the tariffs, and Canadians didn't ask Mark Carney to do these tariffs. So, why are we doing this to each other? Why are we doing this to each other? Booing each other, making enemies of each other, when the real enemy is our federal governments that are enabling this and doing this intentionally. Mark Carney is doing this to usher votes and dangle a carrot in front of your nose, think that he's going to be the savior of Canada. And Trump's doing this thinking that he's going to wrangle in a bunch of countries to renegotiate. Well, guess what? We could have done that without these tariffs. And what this is doing is an elaborate destruction of the working class. And if you think that tariffs are going to resolve in anything or they're going to bring back jobs, I know America media has been practicing that statement that, oh, we're going to put tariffs on China so that American companies are going to bring back their factories to America and we're going to get jobs back. If that was actually going to happen, just look for a second to understand that Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Commerce Secretary, announced on Fox News that even if we bring the factories back to America, even if we bring the jobs back, they already got robots in line. They already got automation in line. They're putting investments into AI technology. Why? To replace you. So it was never about jobs. Never about the factories. It's never about anything good for the general public. And people that are soaked into this are absolutely duped. They are sheep. They are part of this cult. They are manipulated intentionally from the federal governments, from the political establishment that are doing this to divide you instead of just enjoying a hockey game, which is the whole intent of sports. The whole intent of sports is an ultimate distraction away from politics. But now things have become so political, no one can even go to a sports game anymore. You can't even go to a grocery store without someone combating you and saying, you gotta buy Canadian. You gotta buy American. You can't support those traitors. Just an absolute farce. Absolute farce. And it's funny that I bring this to attention because the other day I heard the commercial for Come Sail Away. Or Come From Away, not Come Sail. Come From Away. The musical about the town in land of Canada that brought in people during 9/11 that when all the planes were grounded, brought these people into their homes, looked after them, brought them coffee, got them fed, took care of them until things were clear. They did a musical about it. I've not seen it. be kind of interesting to take a look at that. But they're announcing that it was closing up soon. That the last week was sometime in May, and it's amazing that we come from that story about compassion between Canadians and Americans. That working class people got together in times of need, in times of trouble, in circumstances beyond their control, and are willing to actually reach out to one another. It's amazing we came from that to what we're seeing now. That people are just absolutely just dilated into this cult behavior that if somehow you are not supportive of whatever the federal establishment is shoving down your throat, you are not patriotic, you are not Canadian, you are going against the whims of this nation, and you're somehow a traitor. These are people within their families that are now even more divisive than before. Like, this is worse than COVID. Worse than COVID division. When people used to rat each other out for not being vaxxed. Now here we are. Oh, you're not buying Canadian. You're not doing elbows up. How dare you support someone like Pierre? He sounds like Trump. Just an absolute catastrophe. And look, I'm no fan of Trump. I pointed out the flaws, and right now he's just an absolute mess. I feel bad for the people of MAGA. I feel bad for Americans because they didn't vote for war with Iran. They didn't vote for the crackdowns that are happening. They didn't vote for the catastrophes that are dooming their society. But this is what the agenda of the billionaire class wants. They want a complete destruction of the working class, a complete destruction of these nations to vilify us and turn this into a feudalist society. That's the ultimate goal of these people, and those are the same people that are causing this mess. Don't fall into this trap. Realize that we are people, and Americans and Canadians have had this partnership, had this relationship. We are struggling as much as the next person. So let's come to conclusion. Let's come together on common consensus and show some compassion for one another instead of going down this horrendous route. This is brought to you by Ground News, the versatile news app and website that gathers all the world's media on one place and allows users to compare coverage. Ground News gives you the access of thousands of sources worldwide, allows you to see the media blind spots, and even gives analysis on the bias and factuality of those stories. Weave your way through the mainstream narratives, the corporate lies, and have total access to find complete information that you deserve. Click on the link below and get 15% off a subscription. Be critical, be informed, be ground.